I joke with my colleagues that their average age was below 30 till I joined, and it's become 31 after I've joined. So that's the generation I deal with. I think there were two types of reaction. One reaction was, what on earth will she do over here? That reaction was there. And the other one, said that our parents were very happy. They said, okay, then you are in a good company if she's coming in. So that was also the other reaction. But having said that, right in the beginning, I told my team very, very clearly that what I will bring to the table is the customer's point of view. You've always dealt with yourselves from your side of the table. I have been on the other side of the table for 40 long years. I know what are their pain points. I know what they expect. I know what y'all deliver and where y'all fall short. And what I will try to give to you is their point of view so that I can play the devil's advocate whenever you're trying to do something to make you see how they are going to see you. And I think when they got that piece, they felt that this had value. Okay, and nobody was expecting me to do coding and stuff like that, right? I was there in order to build an institution, and I have built institutions earlier, so to that extent, they were not, wondering whether there's any contribution or not. But yes, bringing the customer's point of view to the table, I think, proved important for them, because they also started to think differently. Their thinking also became more 360 degrees rather than 180 degrees, right? So I think it was a good kind of an interaction. And frankly, I have always been very interested in digital. Saurabh will tell you that digital was something that that's the hook that they used to use in order to get us to employ them. Show me something really fancy and I'd get hooked to it. So I've always been interested in it. And obviously when you're interested in something and you get a ringside seat into one such company, it can be very interesting. So I think it's been mutually productive.
So what has been the secret of success? How did you achieve 6x in 4 years?
If you are talking to me as to what is it that leads to success, I think there are 2 or 3 things. Again, I'll make it very fast. One, of course, is customer centricity. Luckily, whether it's been in the financial services or it's now in the IT services, we are still in the services sector. And whether you're in the services sector or whether you are in manufacturing, at the end of the day, it's the customer pain points and your ability to address the customer pain points that brings you success. So whatever you're doing, believe me, it's the customer who continues to remain at the center of everything. If you are innovating and then going and selling without understanding what is it that the customer wants, your likelihood of success is so much lesser than if you innovate from the point of view of the customer's pain point and how you're going to address them. So I think that's been one of the things that I have always tried to do, keep the customer at the center and then, try and build around that. And the second thing I think I have been very lucky, I would say, is the ability to get the right team to whom I could sell a vision and then delegate to them, give them the space to innovate on their own. And if you have got the right team members, if you have the right people, believe me, they bring so much brain power into the whole exercise that you achieve far more than you had imagined you could achieve. So I think these 2 things, the ability, one, is to understand what should be done, and the second, to be able to sell the vision to others and then leave them to actually execute it. I think these are the 2 basic things.
Is there any part of the Salesforce product suite which finds more traction in India compared to the rest of the world?
Compared to the rest of the world, I wouldn't be able to say. But in India, I think, as I told you, there are these areas that have done very, very well. Our dealer management system, the field service, all of these are doing pretty well. And basically, of course, we are a CRM company, so the CRM piece always does well.
Always.
But more than that, I think now the entire excitement is on the autonomous agent bit. As you know, we are in the agentic era. So we had the predictive AI era, which was followed by the generative AI era, and now the generative AI era has gone into the autonomous agentic era. And in the autonomous agentic era, if you look at any of the magic quadrants, whether they be Gartner, Forrester, IDC, any of them, Salesforce with its data cloud, that is its data solution, and the Agentic. For both of these, we are at number one in both of these areas. I think one of the biggest selling products that we right now have is called the data cloud. So the data cloud, you are aware of this, that in this age of AI, everything at the end of the day is dependent on how good your data strategy is. It is at the end of the day garbage in, garbage out, so you have to be careful about how you set up the strategy. So to that extent, this works very well for us. And we have found that going forward, this is one area where we are having a lot of success because a lot of major companies feel the lack of this data strategy or this data layer, and we are seeing very good adoption there.
So we have seen, fabulous presentations from demonstrations from Salesforce on Agentic AI, and when Agentforce is truly implemented at scale, it can be completely wow customer experience. When do we see at-scale deployment of agents in Indian context?
So in the Indian context, this is something I think that is still a little way off. But to tell you the truth, we have always been customer zero on our own software. So if you look at help.salesforce.com, that is currently on the agentic layer. We have completed more than 500,000, 500,000 conversations on that. When we started on that on the agentic layer about 4 months back, the first call resolution was only 44%. Today we are at 84% plus. Okay. So actually speaking, if you look at it, this is first call resolution, okay? So only 2% of the calls currently are getting passed on to human agents. So we are proving the case by doing it ourselves in order to show customers that this is something that can be done. In the Indian context, there are a lot of POCs running in various places. We have 2 companies that already have agents in production, but there will be many, many more.
Our GCCs today, the global capability centers that the world is coming and setting up in India, have been a huge success. I think $65 billion by last count, expected to grow to $100 billion by the end of this decade. Are there any pain points that GCCs are facing that might even inhibit this growth to be even faster, wherein we can aspire for GCCs to be a $200 or $250 billion industry in the near future? And because I just think the opportunity is unbelievable, right? Not only in the low end of services, but moving towards the middle office and even the front office.
So basically, let me tell you this. The GCCs need to upskill as of day before yesterday. Okay. The low end piece, believe me, will get disrupted with AI. It will just get disrupted with AI. You should not be relying on the low end piece. Good thing in India is that we have gone towards the higher end. For instance, when I had come into Salesforce here, most of the teams over here were small teams of junior developers. Today, many of the global leaders sit out of India. Okay, so we have managed to push it up. So even in support, for instance, I don't have a single support guy who's not an engineer. So only the toughest of the problems get passed on to us. Okay, so every GCC, if they are to remain relevant, they will have to upskill up to the architect level, They need to really and truly understand that the best and the topmost skills are the most in demand, and if we are able to skill our people accordingly, then the future of our GCCs are assured. But if you continue to remain at the lower level, then I'm sorry to say, that's a very, iffy kind of a future that I see.
My research shows that over last 10 years, maybe definitely last 5 years, Indian banking industry is the only in the world where productivity has gone down continuously. Despite the fact that we in India are so proud of digital and everything else, only Indian banking industry's productivity has gone down. How do you read that? And this is defined as asset per employee.
So that's really such a missed opportunity, I would say, because there is really no reason, given the toolbox available today, in order to improve productivity, in order to ensure that people are more efficient, there is really no reason why they cannot, do much, much better. And India, in fact, is probably the only country today where the banking pie is still growing. it's not reached saturation. Today, for instance, if you look at the youngsters that are getting into the new jobs, the first time they get their salary, the very first expense is buying the top-end mobile, and the next is the very top-end motorcycle. And after that, they don't know what to do with the money. So, basically there is so much of opportunity over there, but we haven't empowered our people enough in order to really capture those opportunities. Like you very well say, that it's all low-end jobs that people are getting into, and they are not scaling. They need help scaling. In fact, I think one of the biggest use cases that can be there for all of these companies is the internal agent. So that when a new person comes in, and attrition, by the way, in the front offices is very big. It's very large. The turnover is very large. Now, as a result, what is happening is people without the right kind of training, without the right kind of knowledge, without the right kind of experience, are trying to address customer requirements, and they can't because they just don't know how to do it. And internal agents would be one way of really empowering them to have conversations that are meaningful, have conversations that can actually resolve people's problems. And that is why I think, for the BFSI sector, they really need to understand that if they continue to do this, there will be other kinds of organizations that will come up that will disintermediate them. When there is a demand and there is nobody to meet that demand, nature abhors a vacuum. So that vacuum is going to be filled up by somebody or the other. And I think the sooner our BFSI sector understand that and take that up as a great opportunity, the better it is going to be for them.
Indian BFSI sector is ripe for disruption, right? What type of players will you bet on for the future, which could be formed today, which in 10 years' time will disrupt this industry, given that existing players may not be moving fast enough?
At this point of time, it remains a heavily regulated space. Okay, so we also have to see what the regulators will allow and what they will not allow. The regulators themselves need to think in a very disruptive kind of way in order to get ahead. You were just suggesting outside that it could be something in the form of an NBFC and an investment banking and a fintech coming together. And that's actually a great way of imagining the future. Because if you have the investment banking side, you address a very felt need in Indian industry. You have the fintech side that provides you with that customer centricity and that ability to innovate, to be agile, to be nimble, to address the customer needs. And then you have the NBFC that really, has the capability of going out and giving those products, delivering those products. You bring together the essential elements that are required in order to be a bank. The one thing that we are probably still missing over here is the liability taking. Yeah. But that is something I think that can always evolve. That will evolve in many ways. But the fact remains that this is an area that is ripe for a big evolution. Whether it comes from existing players or it comes from new entities is to be seen. But I do believe, like you say, that you cannot have an industry where productivity is constantly going down. Now, having overcome or surmounted those challenges, there is a feeling that, if we could do that, we can do everything else, and we are good and great at this point of time. You are making good margins, you are making good profits, why break something that ain't broken? But what is happening is, it may not be broken in itself, but the evolution that is happening around, if you are not aware of that, then, obviously you are laying yourself open to risk.
Ma'am, we've heard a lot about AI, especially in the context of services industry from the Indian IT services firms. We don't have really a lot of data points, authentic views from product companies, especially MNC product companies, as to the Indian context, how really AI will disrupt the industry, both from a service provider or a product company, as well as from a client implementation and how the end businesses are run. Especially one large area where this will disrupt is BFSI, most probably. So maybe if you can give a 360-degree view, how really AI is going to disrupt both sides of the game.
So, whether it be manufacturing or whether it be services, today AI basically is capable of bringing to you insights on a very proactive basis, which earlier could only be reactive. If you understand what actually happened is from 2014 when we went into the AI ML area, we were working with structured data. And also we were creating pools where only people who had the ability to write computer queries could query those databases and get you the insights, okay? Now come the era of generative AI, AI started understanding natural language. So it started doing natural language processing. The moment it started doing that, the number of data points that it could then start working on absolutely exploded, because unstructured data then became readable by the AI engine, right? Now, with that, what happened, AI was then empowered to then generate things which earlier may not have been seen at all or been there at all right? And from there, what happened is, it is now come to a stage where it can not only generate responses, it can also trigger actions. As long as your workflows are automated, it can actually trigger actions. So we have the LLM, we also have what we call the LAM, which is the large action model. So agents now can be autonomous in doing many things which we were doing. Now, if you look at any services company, our surveys indicate that 41% of the time of what we do is actually repetitive jobs. Now, this is something an autonomous agent can easily do. Services is the easiest use case, but it is not only services, it is even the case, for instance, with developers. So AI can actually generate the codes for you, which then you go over just in order to see how you can make it even more better, or whether it is actually doing what you have asked it to do. Okay? So there are various areas where AI can be used.